Now, there's been a lot of controversy in relation to the GCSE and A-Level grading this year. And today I wanted to talk about an issue that's been brought up a few times since the school closures. And that's concerning how consistent and fair this teacher-based grading system will be, especially in regards to different ethnic and economic groups. Everything I'll be making reference to will be linked down below, so without further ado, let's make a start. So if you remember in my video about assessment potentially changing forever, I mentioned that a quarter of the time, grades were found to be wrong. Well, in the same vein, according to the research published in 2017 by Dr. Gil Winus from UCL, most A-level predictions by teachers were wrong. And research from 2011 by the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills found that black applicants had the lowest predicted grade accuracy, with only 39.1% of predicted grades being accurate, while their white counterparts had this highest at 53% being accurate. Now, furthermore, the study found that black students are most likely to have their grades not just mispredicted, but underpredicted. So we're starting to see how this is an issue. The worry is that a large number of teachers will give black and other minority ethnic groups lower grades than they should have got because of unconscious bias. Now, I wrote my PGCE paper on some of these racial biases within schools, so I'm fairly familiar with them. I've read and studied the literature on them, and as a black British person myself, I've lived them. I've actually experienced this firsthand. So we see that this concern is well founded. But could this be a real problem for us today and in the few months to come? And the answer is, well, potentially. As I've said before, I've seen it in action throughout my life, constantly being underestimated by teachers and lecturers until the results showed and spoke for themselves. The problem is that this time there are no results. In an article for The Independent, Paula Apken said that the education think tank LKM COES has found that non-black students, which make up over 86% of all teachers in England, tend to have lower expectations of black students and are likelier to negatively judge or more severely discipline pupils from minority ethnic groups. And black students won't be the only ones to suffer in this way. This is a worry for other minority ethnic groups as well. And it's also a concern for disadvantaged students too. According to Dr. Winus' research, the majority of incorrect grades that were predicted were over-predictions. But those from underprivileged backgrounds were more likely to have grades underpredicted than pupils of similar ability from more privileged families. Likewise, Lee Elliott Major, Professor of Social Mobility at Exeter University, he said that evidence showed that the poorest students receive lower A-level predictions than their more privileged peers. So it's not just race, but also those who are poorer or disadvantaged in other ways who are also at risk of being undergraded. But surely there's hope at the end of this tunnel. Well, yes, there's a glimmer. There's a big reason why this may not be an issue. Schools will all hopefully have put in place systems that would enable them to grade their students effectively and reliably. If the teachers follow this, and then are overseen by their line managers, it once again reduces the chance of unreliability. So we're relying on the rigour of teachers using the systems properly, and also their colleagues cross-checking it. We're also relying on Ofqual doing what they said they would, and that is figuring out a way to ensure that everything is fair. Especially considering that if they lean too heavily on a school's pass grades, then they run the risk of assuming that year on year every cohort within a school is exactly the same, which in many schools simply isn't the case. There are many schools where students in one year are a complete shambles, and then the next cohort of students has grades that would rival a top grammar school. Either way, what we don't want is an automatic system. I think I speak for the majority of BAME communities when I say that all that's wanted is for teachers to ensure they are marking fairly, without stereotyping or negatively prejudging students. And I'm sure that's echoed by those who fall into the disadvantaged category as well. Throwing extra grades arbitrarily at students in these categories will definitely not solve the problem. Instead, having the teachers think twice before they give a grade to every student will be the key. And thinking twice and second guessing ourselves is nothing new to us teachers. That's very standard. We do it with every single lesson plan, and we corroborate with colleagues all the time. It's been something that recent research is always telling us to do, to check things with our colleagues and bounce ideas off them and check that what we're doing is good and okay. So, what are your thoughts on the matter? Are you worried that the results won't be fair? Do you think that all this fuss is about nothing? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, I think it's a very valid argument, but I honestly don't know what to expect. Personally, I've always strived to be as fair as possible as a teacher and as a grader, and I am always trying to pinpoint any biases within myself and actively try to remove them. And I'm fairly certain that my marking will reflect that. But at the same time, we're only human, and human error will always be unavoidable.